What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week. And oh boy, there were a lot of comics that came out this week. So no time to waste. Let's get right into it by talking about Zatanna, #1 from DC Comics by Jamal Campbell. With Jamal Campbell on both writing and art with a new series that finds Zatanna just trying to do a regular old magic show when it goes weird and wrong. I was really looking forward to this because, of course, we love Jamal Campbell from Far Sector and many other things.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think? Was this a magical book or was it a bad act?
Oh, boy.
Ooh, good.
Boo.
Tragical. Magical or tragical?
Magical, tragical. There we go.
It was a magical book. I really love this. Very fun, creative story. I like the twists and turns that it took. Really love the art. Simple premise, easy to get behind. This was an absolute blast and a fantastic first issue, getting you excited for more. Yes, please. The art is super tight bananas.
It has a nice unity of vision. It makes sense. There's one person doing it all. Sort of a storybook intro to this in a way that I feel like wasn't followed up on. So it makes me feel like there's a lot more story to get to here. I will say Zatanna, she speaks in a lot of full backward sentences, which I found that's got to be hard from because because how does Zatanna work?
For the letter? Is that what you're saying? It's hard for the letter to do that? Or
no,
what?
I just mean like if I'm saying, because she's often saying like teleport us away backwards. That's not that hard. It is so hard. Like
real quick, say teleport us backwards. I don't know. What I'm
trope.
I hate it. I hate it. No, it's terrible. You know what? I'll say
Yawa would be teleport us away, but like she says, like full. Like how does she just do that? Is that her?
So what I always took from it. And by the way, the backward speech drives me absolutely insane, but I kind of didn't mind it in this series just because there was so much else going on artistically. But my impression is it's not just her saying it backwards. It's also like the intention of what she's saying is really what's behind the magic. That's just sort of how she gets the spell out there. But I don't know if that's true.
Oh, you think that's just her thing?
Yeah, I don't think everybody does backward magic. I think Zatanna does it, Zatara does it. And that is the way they have found to channel the magic. But that's my headcanon explanation.
Interesting. That's funny because mine's very different. I was like, well, it's backwards because it makes it harder so fewer people can do it.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? It's like a limiting factor because, like, look, I just did it, and you two said nothing. So, like, I'm sort of
I'm not.
Zatanna
I couldn't even. That breaks my brain.
You weren't even.
Well, I mean, of the three of us, you look the best in fishnets, so I think that tracks. I really like the twists and turns here. I thought they did a very efficient job of setting up the supporting cast, which was nice. And overall, I remember probably like 10, 15 maybe years ago that DC more regularly started putting artists on writing duty, letting them pull double duty. And I remember us being like, I don't know about that one, but they've really proven a knack for working with artists from the writing perspective as well. And I think that once again pays off here.
I just wanted don't lump me into that. I've always been an artist first type of person. So words are sometimes not needed at all. So
we've been only taping this podcast for 12 years, but we're doing the show for 18 years. Weirdly though, I did record one bit of you saying no artist should ever write a book. So I'm just going to play that now.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to hear that.
I'll say it. I'll add it in post. Everybody.
Yeah, I doubt that I've ever said that.
Just real quick, Pete. Hating words doesn't make you pro artist.
It does. I think it does.
No, it's not. They're not. They don't hate each other. It's not like the writer and artist are like, all right.
Oh, I'm sure sometimes they do.
Let's do this.
I'm sure an artist gets a script.
Fight, by the way, because I think like in the fight between artist versus writer, artists are the ones like they're using their arms all the time. They got that strength there. They could easily beat those puny writers down.
What are you talking about? You got to type stuff out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just your fingers. They got fat, muscly fingers. But the artists, like, they got their whole body moving.
Yeah, if there was sort of like an arm wrestling, like an over the top for fingers, writers would win every time.
Over the top for fingers. I just pictured like a little hat going backwards.
Oh, sorry. Did I just pitch Hollywood on the next great hit movie, Over the Top for Fingers? And let me also say,
we all love Over the Top. It's now for fingers.
That's called
you had me at over the top.
Tightening. Yeah. And let me say, if you don't finish leg day by slipping into a pair of fishnets, what have you even done with your exercise routine?
Wow.
Now, as I mentioned, we have a lot of books to talk through.
Yeah,
we spent 5 minutes talking about Over the Top for Fingers and things about how Zatanna cast spells, something you could easily check on a fan wiki. So why don't we move on?
Wait, real quick, before you move on, I think this is really important. When you talk about hats for fingers, isn't that a thimble?
My God.
And there's no brim on a thimble, so how do you know it's on backwards?
I feel like that would be like a really poor finger, right? Like you see the poor finger
thimble and a thimble.
Outside.
You don't need to do that.
Is it expected to win? The Over the Top for Fingers is wearing a thimble. The other one's wearing like a cowboy hat.
Wow. That's nice. Oh, cowboy hat for fingers? That's awesome. That's badass.
Aliens vs. Avengers, #3 from Marvel, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Esad Ribić. This is finding the remaining survivors. Specifically, we got Miles Morales, Carol Danvers, and Tony Stark, and that's pretty much it, along with a bunch of humans have escaped from Earth to get away from the Xenomorphs. They head for Mars and got to get help from the X-Men. Unfortunately, and big spoilers here, Mr. Sinister has already become aware of the Xenomorphs and gotten to the X-Men first, so things go from bad to worse. This series, I was so dubious of it going in, and it goes so hard.
It's amazing.
Issue.
It's so good. Like, I love this series. Like, this is, I don't know why this is Hickman really just like popping off. I think he's able to use his sort of deep dive density stuff on the alien side of this. And he's showing a lot of sort of I think they're called the engineers, maybe the like alien creators of the universe, all that. There's a whole like preamble cold open on them. Fine, interesting, cool, but the story then he's focusing all of his like just great comic storytelling on these remaining Avengers who are so old and so like, I'm too old for this shit, man. Yeah. They're all that way. And then then you get to meet some X-Men who are too old for this shit at the same time. Like, it's working so well. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this
is art.
Thank you. Yeah, this is epic art. I mean, just absolutely like worth it for the art alone. Just wow. I mean, I know I said this earlier, but this feels really epic. These panels, the layouts, it's glorious where it can transport you and what it can make you feel. This is just one of those comics you have to check out. It's just It's really impressive.
And the Ribić art here is like channeling the alien like melancholy and sadness of the movies but making it comic book. Like, it's not just super dark and in the way that alien movies are. It still has comic book feel, but the vibe is so strong, yet it's still fun. There's a moment in here where a bunch of Mr. Sinister clones are out there attacking the humans on this ship that they rescued from Earth. And one of them says, "It's a gun, human. A gun that shoots face huggers."
I laughed so hard at that.
So good.
And the one thing, like the facial expression that Esad Ribić gives him at that moment where he's just like, "Yay! Yeah. I'm shooting with face huggers." So funny. But last issue, I think I called out that when they brought in the engineers, of course, Jonathan Hickman is going to bring in engineers. That's what he did in the Marvel Universe anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that perfect fit. This issue, almost opposite reaction in terms of, not opposite, but like a flip reaction in terms of, oh, of course Mr. Sinister is going to be like, this is the perfect organism. Let me mess around with xenomorph DNA.
100%.
Great. Perfection across the board.
Yes.
What a creepy bad guy.
G.I. Joe #4 from Skybound and Image Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Reilly. In this issue, things go from bad to worse. Also with the Joes, as Cobra just keeps on winning, baby. Pete, you are our main G.I. Joe correspondent. How are you feeling about this so far?
And Pete, I heard you saying you're with Cobra now because they keep winning so hard.
No, that is
you
not
want to
true.
be on the winning side.
Nope. That's not true.
You love the winners.
No, I'm I'm not on Team Cobra. This is as Zalbatron was saying, things are not looking good for the Joes in this, but man, old Duke gives a badass line at the end of the last panel to give you a little hope. And I'm excited about what's to come. Great Joe action here. Love the twists and turns. Great use of the Crimson Twins here. And I'm just continually having a blast with this. My childhood has never looked so good.
Wow. Put that on the cover. I like that this comic, it feels like it's not just building toward a reveal where a new Joe steps out and is like, I'm flower base. Yeah, whatever it is. Whatever the lost Joes are. Quick Kick. Yeah, we haven't found Quick Kick yet.
I mean, mild spoiler, Pete, I don't know if this is exciting for you, but they announced today in G.I. Joe 7, number 7, we're going to get Beachhead.
Nice.
What's his deal? He fell asleep on the beach and like his hair is sticking up a little bit?
Oh, you know it, man. Come on, dude.
Got sand in his hair?
At the beach. Mm-hmm. So, like, as opposed to the other Energon books, like, this one feels like it is just, like, telling its story. And it is wild and interesting. Duke is fun. And the moves he makes in this story are
Dude, by the end of this, you're going to love Duke, bro. You're going to be a big Duke head.
I already like Duke. I'm the beachhead of Duke. I'm the Duke head. Like you just said.
Star Wars, The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi, number 1 from Marvel, written by Cavan Scott, art by Marika Cresta. This is beginning the end of the High Republic storyline. And in this issue, a bunch of Jedi are doing Jedi things, and there's some other guys who are doing other things. What do you guys think about this one?
Hey, don't cut this down. This is fun. I was having a little Star Wars fatigue, but this really lifted me up. I thought this was cool. I really love the art. I love the action. Great use of some Wookiees here. I'm very happy with this. I felt this was fun. I want more of this.
Kelnaka is... Mm-hmm. That's the Wookiee from Acolyte?
It is, yeah. As you can see right on the cover, this is 100 years before the Acolyte, something like that.
Oh, what a way to sell this comic book. I mean, this stuff is so... These High Republic books are dense. They're just always that way. And it's still fun, but it feels a little bit like reading like a myth, the text of a myth. Though I will say, there was maybe the most insinuated sex ever in a Star Wars piece of content in this comic, where two of these characters are like, hey, remember when we hooked up last night? And the other one's like, oh, are you sorry we hooked up? And they're like, there's actually like talk of sex between these two characters in a Star Wars comic. Like,
is the younger you geeking out right now? Like, oh my God, they're talking about sex.
By the way, that reminds me, actually, have they ever done anything about, like, there were the two characters from, I think it was Empire Strikes Back, Luke and Leia, and they made out like hardcore. Did anything ever happen with that? Because I would love to see more on that relationship. Pete, anything ever happen with that?
I have a question of what you think making out hardcore is.
Yeah.
You're talking about what happened in
that was not making it. That was like
hot.
A kiss on the cheek. It was like
there was like a spike kiss at one point, and then a cheek kiss, as Pete said. Yeah. But I mean that, like, and there was
two erogenous zones.
No,
yes, cheek and spite.
There was an issue, a standalone issue that
it's amazing
was
you have kids.
A wedding.
I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
If you could explain it, you keep saying you're going to explain it to me someday, and you still haven't.
There's a stork, and it delivers a baby, and then that's how it works.
The stork is strong in this one. That's what we said. But anyway, I say that as a positive. Like, I like exploring Jedis as people, something I think the Star Wars universe in general has a hard time doing. And despite a lot of, like, dense storytelling here, at least we're getting human moments, which do keep me drawn into this.
Plus, the art's great.
Jenny Sparks, number 7 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Jeff Spokes. This is the final issue of this title, as Jenny Sparks finally tries to figure out how to stop Captain Atom's rampage, which has been destroying the entire universe. Pete already has a question. I'm sure it's going to be about the content of the book itself and not something like really mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want, I read this and I just want to see if I got this right and let me know, okay? If that's okay.
And spoilers. I probably should have said it at the beginning, but spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. So sorry. So Captain Atom kills everyone, okay?
Yep.
And then Jenny Sparks gets him a ham sandwich, and now everything's going to be okay? Did I get that correct?
So you're asking doubtful. You're acting doubtful, Pete. If you were upset about something and somebody brought you a ham sandwich, what would happen?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I would immediately be happy. That's true. It's a good point.
There you go. That's the point of the book.
Well, thank you for...
We were asking for a point to the book. The point of the book is ham sandwiches are good.
So, you're right. I mean, wow.
No, the ham sandwich was afterwards. Basically, as far as I get it, she convinced him that... yes, he is God. Yes, he can create all this stuff, but living in a nothingness where he's worshipped is not as powerful as actually living in the world. This, not so much subtext, because they actually stated out loud, is Jenny Sparks was the spirit of the 20th century. This is about ending that and letting go of that and moving on with your life and moving on with the rest of the 21st century. At least that's what I took away from it. And while I still think, like, I found some frustrating things throughout this book, I do appreciate the conclusion they came towards. I get all the criticisms and I hear all the criticisms of it, but I do think King and Spokes said what they wanted to say by the end, and it did make logical sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this book is a little like too clever by half, if you know that phrase, where it's a little cute at points, but underneath it, like you're saying, Alex, there are a lot of interesting ideas. The difference between the 20th and 21st century, having this avatar of the 20th century try to fix the modern world via Captain Atom as the god who's like, this sucks, let's just shut it down, I think is an interesting idea, and they play with it in an interesting way without being very indicative of, they're not really like pulling your ear to try to get you to a certain idea, but they're still telling a story. And I gotta say, the art really helps with what they're doing. It's sort of wide open, very like interestingly paneled, but clean and strong art throughout that makes this feel, it's just so in front of us. It's very presentational, a way that I think really works as the story is a little bit more thoughtful and dense.
I did like the art choice to kind of do those quick kind of panels where they were thin and you could kind of like, it was a nice kind of back and forth feel to it, which I thought worked really well artistically. But yeah, this was a long way to go to be like, hey, try to be nice and maybe, giving someone a break and a ham sandwich can turn the world around. Which I think is a great sentiment.
I think what it's saying is like, it's going through the complicated part of the ideas and landing on the simple part of the ideas, where it's like being human. Because to sort of marry the words and the art in a way, like, the words are being very coy throughout. Jenny Sparks is never saying the thing because she's trying to, there's a verbal sparring happening between her and Captain Atom through this whole time. But I think the entire time, the art and the emotion is on their faces in a way that I think really works and is very evocative throughout. And I think that carries us through to the more simple human idea that you're saying, like, hey, maybe we just need to have someone give us a ham sandwich every now and again.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Ultimate Wolverine #2, speaking of people who just need a ham sandwich, from Marvel, written by Chris Condon, art by Alessandro Cappuccio. In this issue, our brainwashed Logan is forced to fight some soldiers thanks to Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, who run the, I'm forgetting the exact name, but the Russian Union that he is brainwashed and working for. What'd you guys think about this one?
Well, this is kind of a fun idea where it's like, all right, it's Wolverine, but he's the Winter Soldier here, so you get no talking for Wolverine, which is not like he's a big talker, but okay.
Not even a bub?
Yeah, I know. So, interesting premise. It's grown on me. I'm liking the kind of like vibe that this sets when Wolverine is just kind of this non-speaking killing machine. It's interesting. I've never hated Colossus so much, so that's an interesting choice. And the bad guy is kind of pulling off this weird, creepy Mr. Fantastic thing, which is also interesting. But
that is interesting. Do you think this is just a theory here? But the bad guy you're talking about who's doing the Mr. Fantastic thing, do you think he could be like Mr. Fantastic?
It could be, but he's got this weird long helmet on, so it's hard to tell.
Okay,
Pete, when you see someone in a hat, are you like, who the fuck are you? What are you up to?
Yeah.
Like I'm wearing a hat right now. If you see,
but you see, that's the thing. It's tilted and up so I can see you.
Yeah, this is why.
But
Pete
if it was
can't
down more, I can't.
This is why Pete can't do the over the top for fingers, because you put a hat on there and he's like, "What the fuck? Whose fingers are these?
Yeah,
whose fingers are these?"
I
what are they up to?
You brought back over the top of fingers. That's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. It's been 10 minutes. We left that behind us when we were younger.
I was hoping we would move on. But yeah, I'm here for Wolverine. So whatever he's doing, I'm here for it.
Yes, you are. And this, I feel like Colossus is never been so down bad.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate character to be like, yeah, remember how nice he was? The kind painter of the X-Men? Fuck him. He's bad. Yeah. He does bad stuff all the time. And we're getting that here. But I do like it. We get sort of the nastiest fastball special ever in this issue, where he's just throwing a broken Logan across the room for just to be mean, technically. But I do like this. And I'm curious what the turn's going to be. Mm-hmm. To conjure Winter Soldier means that we're going to have a rejection of the programming, I think. And Logan turning on his tormentors, who are Colossus, Omega Red, and Illyana Rasputin. So that's going to be a bloody mess.
That's going to make things awkward at the next X meeting, Yeah,
well, this is sort of in the Ultimate Universe, so who knows?
Well, I think it's certainly going to turn it into a House of Slaughter number 30 for Boob Studios, written by Sam Johns, art by Letizia Cadonici. Now, I was pretty surprised to find this the final issue of House of Slaughter, the Something is Killing the Children spinoff. To answer your question for the live show, Pete, I don't know exactly what's coming up, but yes, there will be more coming up in the world of Something is Killing the Children. What that is, we don't know. But yeah, this tied up this title that I think as a whole, we've liked a lot of the stuff they've done, but kind of mixed on some other things. How do you feel this wrapped up here?
Let me just say real quick, because I know, Pete, you'll probably have a nice eulogy to give to this final issue. I just think this last arc felt like one of the more convoluted, less defined arcs that they did. I really liked this book. For a long time, I thought this was the stronger book, giving us more clean, composed, character-driven stories. And this last arc has felt very arch and very just like a monologue-y and like almost a memoir where we don't know exactly what's happening outside of the POV we're getting. So I have been disappointed by this last arc, but I've really, like you're saying, Alex, have really loved this book in general.
Wow, what a dick. I think that this, it's very sad to see it go. I mean, 30 issues is a great run in comics, and I hope they got to kind of do the ideas that they want. You never know if things kind of get cut out from under them or what happens here. But first off, cool cover. I just feel like, great action. This moves. There's just such an interesting. This house idea is fun. It's stuff we've seen before, obviously, but I don't know what it is about the handkerchiefs or the color things. I think it's just kind of fun to learn about the different houses, what they're into, and how kind of people can move up and stuff. Well, whatever.
Do you ever throw one on to go to the store?
Yeah, Babushka, you're damn right I do.
And Justin, did you just call it a handkerchief because he said handkerchief, or is that actually how you pronounce it? Both of you.
What do you say?
Handkerchief.
Chiff.
Oh, you say chiff.
Chiff.
I say handkerchief.
You say handkerchief. Interesting.
Yeah.
Chiff.
Huh. We're from a similar region, Pete and I, so maybe that's...
maybe that's an upstate thing.
Yeah.
But also, it's spelled chief.
I know. But
it's
I always
the
heard
chief
handkerchief.
hanker. It's the chief hanker, Alex. No, it's the chief. It's the best. It's the best one. This
how
one
do you
is in
pronounce the
charge.
team that lost the Super Bowl? They're the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Chiefs.
That's how I say it.
I don't
That's how
say
I
that
say
word ever.
Don't.
Yeah, that's how you say it in your sports betting pools. Alex,
Yeah,
just so
don't
you know,
say that
Alex
to a
is
Bills fan. Don't bring up the
crazy.
Chiefs to a Bills fan.
Alex is deeply in debt from
Chiefs.
all of his insane sports betting. He's doing parlays you never heard of.
And you guys are Biles fans? Is that what's going on?
Oh
Simone
my God.
Biles? Hell yeah.
Hell yes,
Hell
Simone
yeah.
Biles.
Yeah.
Simone
yeah.
Biles, baby, all day.
We're vile for Biles, we say here on the podcast. Daredevil Unleash Hell, Red Band #2 for Marvel, written by Erica Schultz, art by Valentina Pinti and José Luís Soares. This is pitting the Elektra Daredevil against Muse female version as well as Muse ghost version as they wreak havoc on the city. This, like we said with the first issue, is really messed up and gross in the way that I want a Red Band book to be, so I'm very happy with this so far.
Yeah, agreed. This is sick, man. In all forms of the word, where it's awesome, it's gross, it's I love this issue. I think Daredevil is clearly a douchebag, and Elektra is the better choice, and it's proven in this issue. This is Muse is a great villain, and we kind of get a powered up another Muse here, so I'm worried about how Elektra's going to get out of this, and it's fun. I just think this is it's a really cool issue and a really well done story, and ramping things up for the next issue. Can't wait.
It's interesting to me how the Elektra Daredevil has taken on a lot of the qualities of Matt Murdock from previous Daredevil runs, at the same time that the current Matt Murdock in his main title is sort of like off in a weird place and sort of not, at least as we've talked about him, less accessible, less interesting as Daredevils in the past. So to echo what Pete's saying, like, I think this is great. This is great, gruesome Daredevil story. Muse is a villain that I thought really popped back on.
Yeah.
It's a Charles Soule character, right?
Charles Soule and Ron Garney.
Came up with Muse, and great character to bring Muse back in a way that is even more horrifying. I feel like the way that it's sort of just straight face being like, yeah, Muse is so strong. He chased a piece of hell that this regular high school kid had in her life to sort of take her over or entice her into being a serial killer as well, I think is really great, really horrifying, and the way the power set was sort of laid out in this issue, I thought was like very effective. But I'm super on board with this.
Justin, you got to think about, like, being a struggling artist is tough. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, all of a sudden the devil comes around and is like, hey, do you want to do some real art? You know what I mean? It's got to be tough being a struggling artist is my point.
Yeah, I mean, I've never struggled in my life, obviously, given the career paths I've chosen. But so I guess I'm just in response to that, I would say if the devil has an offer, show up. Let's go. Let's go. What are you waiting for?
TikTok.
Real quick thing that I wanted to mention before we move on. I really appreciate
Did you want to make a deal with the devil real quick also? Or just...
Literally any time. Hit me up, yo. The way Erica
I got my
Schultz
blood
has been,
pen dipped, my guy.
You keep it dipped?
All of my fingers are pricked. That's why I can't do over the top for fingers because they're injured.
Stop bringing back the fingers, man.
Never. The way that Erica Schultz has been diving into legacy with these series is, I think, very smart. The last one pitted her against the new Punisher to give not to kill anymore. This guy is leading into killing. How does that play? a male version of a villain teaching a female version of a villain what to do and controlling her. And that's something that Daredevil is trying to break away from, down to her encounter with Matt Murdock in this issue. So I think it's very smartly thematically done for these series. So I'm really appreciating that as well. The New Gods, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Ram V, art by Riccardo Federici and Evan Cagle. We are getting a war in the heavens as a new race, or at least I assume it's a new race, is attacking Apocalypse and coming for New Genesis next. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Mr. Miracle and Big Barter are trying to save a baby who has the powers of a new god from forces who want to kill that baby. Gorgeous, gorgeous book. Beautiful book.
Yeah, I mean, look at this cover. I mean, holy shit. It's a great indication of what's to come. And this is just, I mean, these panels are unbelievable. You want to talk about tight bananas. This is super tight bananas. You know what I mean?
Where did this come back from?
We're
coming roaring back, bananaing back, if you will.
Hey, whatever, Fingers. You can bring shit back. Why can't I bring shit back, you piece of shit?
Hey, fingers are the bananas of the hands, I always say.
That's true. You do say that a lot, which is weird because your fingers can't expire if you leave them out too long.
That reminds me of how much I love a boneless hot dog. When I get the chance to order one.
We got to stop being so random. I mean, people have got to loosen their minds listening to this episode, so please let's stay
boneless
focused.
Hot dog is a reference to, well, you know the podcast.
Yeah.
I remember which one we talked about that on.
Definitely.
So anyways,
Maybe
I just feel like
unclear.
I said earlier that the art was so amazing. You got to really check this out, and I want to echo that here. Like, this art is so good, you have to check this out. It is definitely
What if they
worth
don't
picking
the third
up.
time? What if for the third issue you're like, the art is so good, you got to check this out, or are you going to ditch that at some point? Like if they don't check it out.
Well, you know, it's up to them, but I'm telling them it's worth checking out.
No, when Pete says something, he demands. It's not. You can't not. Pete's like Darkseid in that way. Pete is.
I don't know about all that.
This book is fantastic. The first 2 issues really just set up so much. This one gets a little bit in the sauce of some stuff.
What?
I would have loved a little. The art's fantastic. I would have loved a little bit more Mr. Miracle and Barda to humanize.
Yeah. But it's going to get there. I mean,
no, definitely. Like, there's a lot of laying out. It's just this issue was a big laying out some ideas where I was like, whoa, this is like Ezekiel begat this other dude and stuff.
Yeah, but the last couple
downright biblical
panels were just sick. I mean, when Barda shows up, she shows up.
Yeah, no, very fun. More of that, please.
All right, and now it is time for the moment you've all been waiting for. People have been asking us about this online, and boom, boom, it's time to enter the One World Under Doom room as we talk about 5 different titles under the heading of One World Under Doom this week. We got the main title last week.
Is this a Doom block?
This is, I just said it's boom, boom. We're in the One World Under Doom room, Pete. I was very
but that's
clear.
not the same verbiage as this is our Marvel Doom block.
No, we're in the One World Under Doom room.
Yeah, we're in the Doom room. Boom, boom.
Okay.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Pete?
Boom, boom.
Say it, Pete.
We're in the Doom room.
No, say boom, boom.
It's so sad. You can't get on board with just saying Doom room, something you're excited about.
Yeah. Anyway, there are a bunch of titles that came out this week, and we're going to talk through them in a block. Let's kick it off talking about Doom Academy #1 from Marvel, written by Mackenzie Cadenhead, art by Pasquale Ferry. This is very closely tied to the main event because we're getting the kids from Strange Academy and others, some who had previously been enrolled in Doom Academy. Now that Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, they're all in Latveria. They're in a castle. They're learning together. I'll tell you what. I was not very into the Strange Academy books. I felt like there was something that was always keeping me at arm's length with them, even though I should be a mark for that concept. I just couldn't wrap my head around it for some reason. This one I thought was great. Like, this is very classic first day at magic school type thing.
Yeah.
But it really works and it hits those tropes, and I had a lot of fun reading this.
I agree. It was fun, and it had a kind of fun Scooby-Doo vibe with the, spoilers.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo vibe where
the talking dog. Did you get a Scooby-Doo dog?
No, would you let me finish a fucking sentence with the painting and the eyes that follow you around all the time?
That was a very good bit. Them talking about there's a painting of Doom and being like, it's like our eyes are following us.
And it's every
subsequent battle, Doom's eyes are like,
looking in a different direction. Yeah.
And that's what I would say. This book has a lot of fun moments like that. We're getting some, obviously, Strange Academy has Harry Potter vibes. They even make a Harry Potter reference in here. But to have it flip into this more oppressive regime and really leaning into that, I thought was really cool. There's a vaguely wicked adjacent storyline happening here with two roommates that, quote unquote, hate each other at the top of this.
Don't spell wicked. I have to see that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Eventually it leads to a Tin Man, a Scarecrow, a Lion, and a couple of other characters I don't want to spoil.
I would like to bring it back to this book if I could. I really love the art and how it set a fun kind of tone for this, and that I think does a great job of setting all this up.
Yes, it is good.
Yes, good book. Next one in the Doom Room, Thunderbolts, Doom Strike #1 from Marvel, written by Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly, art by Tommaso Bianchi. We are following Bucky, who finds his Thunderbolts team is driven to the four winds. So he has to figure out a way to take down Doom all by himself. And I'll tell you what, this book went super hard. I like the previous Thunderbolts book. This one really leads into the whole one world under Doom thing, maybe even more than Doom Academy. And so very dark, but a lot of fun.
This was my favorite read of the week. I
thought
this was such a great
because earlier you listed some amazing comics, but this is your read of the week?
This was the one that I really got on board for. I love there are a lot of different, just great, surprising story beats.
Did you like the Nat and Barnes kind of moment there? Of course,
I getting on board with a straight-up Bucky Nat kiss out of nowhere.
Did you see the cat, though?
Yes, we got a cat. Pete, give me the cat review. Just so you guys know, if you haven't heard, Pete reviews cats in his free time, casually. He puffs the fluff and says what cats he likes almost all the time.
Yeah, and by the way, this isn't online. Pete wanders through the park or wherever he can find cats, and he just rates them as he's walking along.
Which is sorry, because not a lot of people walk their cats, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so when you find one, you really... But I think Pete will have a top 5 cats list anytime. So if you bump into him somewhere... First question, top 5 cats. He'll say them before you even have time to write them down. But what I'm saying here, and we will ask you at the end of the podcast for your top 5 cats featured here, and you better have a fucking answer, you bastard. But this is great. The conversations with Doom, we've seen a lot of Doom. We've been in the Doom room a lot lately. I love the way that Doom is handled in this comic. I love the way that Bucky fights back against him, the response to that. It just has a lot of great use of the characters and continuity of the Thunderbolts while also pushing the story forward, while also having a fantastic reference to Bucky's history that I thought I didn't see it coming, and it hit really hard. This book is just so smartly written, carefully done, and tragic. There's a series of tragedies that happen here as well. So favorite of the week.
I will say I did really like this book as well, but this was not even my favorite Jackson Lanzing Colin Kelly book of the week.
Wow, you got a hot take.
So we'll see what that is later on. Next up in the Doom Room, X Factor #7 from Marvel, written by Mark Russell, art by Bob Quinn. In this issue, the X Factor team is heading to take out a AI algorithm-generated society that has been built on the bones of Genosha, and they ostensibly are there to destroy the computer, but they're not actually there to destroy the computer. They're instead supposed to distract while the computer is stolen from under them. It doesn't quite work out that way. We've been a little waffly, even though we really like Mark Russell and like Bob Quinn, about this title, but how did you feel about this semi-tie-in to the event?
Well, I like that this one has a little bit more of a premise, touching on AI and the algorithm as a way into this superhero X-Men adventure, X-Factor adventure, I thought was really a nice way to sort of use Mark Russell's talents at their utmost. And Gig No Show is very fun.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was an all right-ish, a solid art. You know, it was a lot of talking. You know, and Angel's not one of my favorites, but
well, why? He flies, nice wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and then they just kind of threw Doom in at the end. They're like, "We're still in the Doom room." And you're like, "All right."
We already established that Pete would immediately sell his soul to the devil, so that's why he doesn't like Angel. But I thought this was the strongest issue so far, to the point that you were saying, Justin, where it's just
really
very
strongest so far.
Well, just because this felt like you were saying, this is the strongest satirical concept I think we've gotten for a mission they got on, which is very much Mark Russell's sweet spot. The most tangential tie-in, I would argue, Weapon X-Men #1 from Marvel, written by Joe Casey, art by Chris Cross. Here we're getting a bunch of Sharpos teaming up for unknown reasons.
Sharpos?
And in the book, they end up at Latveria. You know, Tom Brevoort, who I believe is the editor on this title, but definitely the editor of the X-Men line, when asked about this, was like, well, we didn't actually start this one. It's not really a One World Under Doom tie-in. It's just under the headline. And I was like, that's weird. But 100% you could see that, where they just pay lip service like they're in Latveria, but they're like, oh yeah, there's some stuff going on with Doom. Don't worry about it. Well, let's move on. And it feels like a line they added later. So yeah, it's really just... it's X-Force, but that name was taken, so there you go.
Well, and that's why I was confused. I'm a little confused about what the idea here is, because it does feel like there's something happening here, and we get a like Deadpool betrayal, I guess, in a way that I was like, oh, what is this about? And unlike a lot of the X books, which are pretty upfront with what their premise is, this one feels like they aren't saying it yet. I really like Joe Casey. I'm sure it will get somewhere, but I just want to know. I want a little bit more of a nod here because I'm not quite sure.
I feel like this is fun. I'm the mark for this. So yeah, I mean, great team, great art, great action. It's a little weird and quirky, but I'm in. More, please.
Before we close the door on the Doom Room for the week, let's talk about Storm at #5 from Marvel, written by Murway Yodole, art by Lucas Wernick. This does kind of tie a little bit closer, but mostly it is the title going along with the storyline it was doing anyway, which has Storm in Latveria. She just died. She was brought back to life for eternity, and this issue is showing a lot of the backstory here, the eternal fight, no pun intended, between eternity and oblivion, and how that has been going on since before the beginning of time, and how Storm is stuck in the middle. As usual with this book, stunning art. The story is so big now and got blown out in a wild way, but I continue to absolutely love this book.
Same. It's so good. And this really struck me as like the spiritual successor to Adam Warlock in the Marvel Universe. Like, you don't get these type of stories often. I love those old Adam Warlock stories where he was like brokering a deal between like a bug planet and Galactus or whatever, and through like a psychedelic journey. And it's basically what this is, with a little more emotion and Storm at the center of it. And the fact that they were able to tie this in, and it being one of, like you said, the more effective tie-ins to the Doom event is wild, because this is also a battle between the creation forces of the Marvel Universe at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, at this point I was getting a little Doom fatigue, but I did think the interaction with Storm was fun. But I love the Storm book and what they're doing with her right now. It's just artistically, it's just badass, and this is another great issue. But yeah, at this point, I was a little doomed out.
You were saying you were more in the Doom tomb when you want to be in the Doom womb.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're saying.
And one last thing that I'll say, Pete, is if you're getting tired of Doom now, just hang in there, because it's the second week out of 9 total months for this event. So
yes, we have so much more to go.
Well, by next week I'll be refreshed.
Refreshed.
Ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Let This One Be a Devil, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Tynion IV and Steve Fox, art by Piotr Kowalski. This is an extension of James Tynion's True Weird line, which previously included Blue Book, which is all about aliens. This one is focusing on cryptids, specifically the Jersey Devil, and it takes a very different, less documentary bent than the Blue Book one, which, mind you, I really like Blue Book, but this was a very engrossing story, I thought, jumping between two storylines. And I want to give a particular shout out to Piotr Kowalski, who I feel like is becoming the go-to Dark Horse horror artist. He did stuff with Kyle Starks. He did some other title that I'm blanking on, but they're all really good. And he has this very humanizing effect on horror scenarios. His lines feel almost like woodcuts in particular in this book, which works really, really nicely. So great stuff.
Yes, I agree. And I didn't know that when you're like having a kid, if you just scream, "Let this one be a devil," that works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. Really? You would have done that?
When my kids were being born, I shouted, "Let this be a linebacker."
Wow.
It didn't work though because I'm the man. I wasn't kidding.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Is you have to be the one doing it. So
definitely not words.
Dudes can yell whatever they want, and they're not going to get anything. So yeah, but
it's like
back
I
to
always
this.
say when it comes to
real
babies,
quick,
whoever smelt it dealt it. What?
I was gonna say by linebacker, did you mean is that like someone who like an inker basically? Is that what you meant? Like linebacker?
Yeah, just the back cover. They're the one that put on the
or maybe
the
a line producer is what you meant to yell.
That's what I said. Let this be a line producer.
Yeah.
And obviously, when each of us was born, our mom said, "Let this one be a podcast."
Thanks, moms.
Yeah, I did.
You curse. Talk about a curse.
This is really JT4 wins again because I'm scared reading this book. But yeah, the kind of design for the horn flying devil monster was really great and spooky in a lot of ways. So
that's the Jersey Devil. You live closer to the Jersey Devil than we do, Pete.
That's not true. I'm a lot farther away than you guys.
And not to the Jersey Devil.
I don't. You're close to the Jersey Devil.
You are.
No.
Yeah.
Well, do you live near the Pennsylvania asshole?
Nope. No. I'm right on the border by Maryland.
I think there's a Jersey Devil.
You guys are all the way up.
Are
the
you
New York Knickerbocker?
There's the Baltimore bitch.
Whoa. What are you even doing right now? Watch your mouth, bro. You don't want the DV on you, bro.
Yeah, man. Watch out for the Baltimore bitch. Oh, man. The real reveal is that Pete is the Pennsylvania asshole.
Hey, I'll take it.
Wow.
That would be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Let this one be an asshole, Pete's mom said.
Great book. Exceptional X-Men #6 from Marvel, written by Eva Ewing, art by Carmen Carnero. In this issue, we're focusing on a green dude who I really should learn the characters' names in this book.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but he is trying to figure out his place with this new X-Men, figure out what's going on with his life and his powers. And in the process, he meets a guy who is the head of an app that is gathering DNA information on people, along with his other X-Men. I love this book. But I feel like I'm higher on it than you guys. I just like how it's like very down-to-earth drama for the most part, but that's not quite working for you is what I'm getting, Justin.
Well, it's the book that is the most original X-Men core ideas, where these folks are like, I don't know if I want to be a mutant. I feel weird here. Combining that with like very much young people dealing with the current issues of the day, and we get an interesting villain here. Right? It reminds me of in Jason Aaron's Thor run when he had the Minotaur running
Dario Algar or whatever his name
who was
is.
Secretly the Minotaur, right?
Yeah.
This villain feels very much in line with that, and that's cool. I like the way the green character is AXO, or Axo. I'm not sure exactly how to say that. There's an interesting moment here where he stops a mugging. And then, it sort of pays off at the end, which I thought that was really cool.
That was cool.
I was really surprised by the way Kitty Pryde is written in this issue. Yeah. It feels not accurate. She walks into a room and goes to Emma and feels like the Kitty Pryde that just joined the X-Men, where she's like, Emma, are we capable of normalcy or are we poison? I was like, what? That's not the character that I thought.
No. I think what I took away, I really like that scene, and what I took away from it was she doesn't want to fight with Emma all the time, like particularly if they're going to care for these kids and help these kids. She's being like, can we just talk as human beings rather than do the thing we always do, which is I yell at you and then you say some biting, snotty comment back at me. Can we stop being poison for each other and just be normal people together? That was my interpretation.
Oh, that I feel like it just comes on the heels of a scene between Kate and her and Nina, who is someone that she's like sort of developing a relationship with. Mm-hmm. So it felt like she was commenting on that there, and Emma's like, I'm not the right one to ask. Catherine Pryde. I don't know. The whole thing felt strange, and if they're trying to explore Kitty Pryde, sort of finally getting back to being a human and not knowing how to do that, that's really interesting. But like we only get sort of half a page of that. Like I want more of that. I want to see more of Kitty Pryde doing that.
Again, clearly I'm coming from a place of defending this book, but I think they're taking a lot of time, which is good, to develop these new characters and figure out who they are individually, who they are, what they mean to each other. So yeah, we know Kitty, we know Emma, we know Bobby. So I personally don't feel like we need to spend quite as much time with them. We can sort of like touch on them like they're the teachers in the school, the drama, and I want to follow the kids and find out more about them. But again, that's where I'm coming from it. Yeah. And the one thing that I'll say is the villain, I agree with you. I was like, oh, this is an interesting villain. I like him. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you look at the cover for the next issue, you know what's actually going on with him, and it makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense in that, like, we all saw this coming.
Yes, exactly. All right, why don't we move on, talk about Wonder Woman, number 18 from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Daniel Sempere. Wonder Woman is finally stepping into the fray after sending all of her lieutenants after the Sovereign and forcing him into the White House. This time she's going solo, and as usual, they just do a absolutely killer job in this book of making Wonder Woman an unstoppable force of nature.
Yeah, this is so badass. It's almost like we're watching like slow motion happen in comics, or her walking across the front lawn as the White House attacks her. Spoilers. Yeah, this is badass on a lot of levels. Just an absolute blast. Cool idea, great execution. Love the art and action. I continue to enjoy this comic run and would like more.
This is great. I feel like we've actually talked about a lot of Tom King books, I feel like, in this stack. And this one's great. This is maybe my favorite of his this week. He really has a strong plan for Wonder Woman and is really like stepping through it in a great way. And you feel the confidence and deliberate intention of the narrative here. Like she's about to go wreck shit, and you get to see her just not even do it in this issue, but just have the plan figured out on how she wants to do it, and that's super exciting.
Eating an apple like a badass.
Yeah, and there's some great babysitting happening here as well, so shouts to all of that.
Shouts to babysitters.
The Amazing Spider-Man number 68 from Marvel, written by Justina Ireland, art by Andrea Brocardo. In this issue, Spider-Man finally finds his responsibility to go with his power and joins the fray with the X-Men.
About time, bruh.
Fighting back against the blighted scion of Sidorak, who is going to destroy both Sidorak's world and his world, leading to well, maybe not a totally shocking moment at the end, but one that still hurts nonetheless. What are you thinking, Pete? How are you feeling?
Feeling great. You know what I mean? They really set this up, spoilers, but they were like, oh man, if you die, it's for real. And then you get the old neck snap. You know what I mean? So, hey, Spider-Man had a good run, man. I mean, it's been a long time, but they did a lot with this character, and if you're not going to have her be with Mary Jane, then just fucking murder the dude. You know what I mean?
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's good that she can finally move on with Paul, and they could just really...
Oh, how dare... Don't you bring up Paul at a time like this?
It'd be great. Now we have time to focus on Paul. Now we got Peter out of the way. Like, let's.
And next issue, I believe they're changing the title to The Amazing Paul.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The Terrific Top Knot, I think, is what they're calling it. And I, for one, can't wait to get into, like, which tofu curry is he making this evening?
It's going to be great.
I do like this. We've talked a lot about this run, following up on the Zeb Wells run. Justina Ireland, I feel like, has really risen to prominence in this story and has turned out a lot of great issues. I like the relationship between Peter and is it Sira, the Sidorak member of the Sidorak family who's sort of helping him out and has taken to him. It feels like one of the more genuine relationships. Like, I like Peter and Sira more than I like Peter and Shay, for instance. Like, there's more going on there. He seems to always be on time with her because they're always in the same room, basically. So that's cool. Well, how'd you guys feel about him throwing his life-affirming feathers down on Aunt May, Randy, Shay, and another random dude?
I was all right with that. I thought that was a nice move, just plot-wise.
It was just funny to me because, like, setting up that Spider-Man will sacrifice his life for anyone, even on the small chance he can succeed against all odds. It was just funny when he was like, I have 4 left. I'll use it on Aunt May, Shay, Randy, and some poor soul who didn't commit the crime of knowing me. I was like, yo, cool it, dude.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. We're looking at the cover to the issue here, and Spider-Man's eyes, he's got his arms crossed in front of him. Spider-Man's eyes are all black. Is the implication that he blinked his eyes closed? Like his usually his white eye things, he just like closed them all the way somehow?
Yeah, when he dies, someone comes up and closes his
mask?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just folds it shut, I guess.
I mean, isn't that... Because the way the Spider-Man mask works, and I don't know how this translates to reality, but he moves his mask like he moves his eyes.
Yes, 100%, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
And has never made sense.
No. But there was something specifically that bothered me about this. Like, I could go with it being like, oh, they're wide or they're like a little closed, but him being like, well, time to close my mask lids all the way because I died. Very weird.
Deadfully die. Well, do you guys think as glasses wearers, were your glasses turned into sunglasses when you die?
100%.
Like
when I go outside, they do.
Oh, so you die every time you go outside.
That's right.
Pete, going hard for transitions glasses.
I'm old.
Transitions glasses. When you're old, they're cool.
You're old, but you still won't get bifocals. Okay, Pete.
Dude,
what?
I'm trying right now. It's fucking giving me headaches. It's crazy.
Oh, are you trying bifocals? You got them?
Yeah.
Yeah, good news. No, that's great.
Wow. Our podcast has reached peak age.
Yeah, this is
Alex feebly cheering.
Tried a new Ensure. They just put out a new flavor. The flavor is gray. Stranger Things, Dungeons and Dragons, The Rise of Hellfire, #1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Jody Houser and Eric Campbell, art by Diego Galindo. In this issue, we're finding out the origin of Eddie Munson, the character played by Joseph Quinn. Why does he play Dungeons and Dragons? How does he play Dungeons and Dragons? All those questions and more will be answered in this comic book.
A huge reveal here where the reason he plays Dungeons and Dragons in Stranger Things is because he played it once when he was younger. Boom! Gotcha.
Just like everybody.
Yes. The craziest thing about this, and this is like it's a nice character exploration of a character that I think super popped on the Stranger Things TV show, which happened, I want to say, 1,000,000 years ago. The most recent season. It was 1,000,000 years ago.
Yeah, speaking of which, I read that the cast of Stranger Things just got bifocals as well.
Yes, exactly. Can't wait to see them.
We got one more season coming, right?
Mm-hmm. If they survive,
someday, for
sure.
Yeah. The craziest thing about this is this book sets up, and maybe this is true in the series, that he is still a senior in 1985, but he started in 1978 or something. Mm-hmm. He's in school for 7 years.
Hey, man, sometimes school is hard. Some people need a longer time, bro. Don't shame them.
No, I don't think
I hear what you're saying, but I think they established that in the show, if I remember.
He's a 7 year,
Yeah, I think wasn't it like his third senior year or something when they encounter him for the first time?
Maybe it just felt even crazy. It felt very
for
crazy
sure
in this.
Some people go to college for a lot of years, bro.
This is different. Also like, I don't know.
High school and college are different, Pete, just so you know, from a curriculum point of view.
I thought the character exploration, like you said, was good here, but what I want, which is such a tricky line to walk, but what I want out of a Stranger Things comic book is some sense of the supernatural, and I know they can't go full hog with it because the stuff happens in the seasons itself, but something darker or something weirder. This is mostly like very nice.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I feel like that's coming, so it's nice to kind of just have a not stressful setup of like, hey, here's a normal school before things start getting strange.
But don't you think we would get at least a nod to what type of thing? Like, this is literally just them playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I like it. I don't have to be worried about what some kid going to the other side or whatever. I'm just like, oh, all right, great. Just a simple high school story.
Do you like stories where stuff happens? Because if you don't, like, if you're just like, oh, I like
dude, if it's called Stranger Things, it can build to that. It doesn't have to start there. It can build to it.
This book should be called Regular Things because he's doing regular things.
Until things get strange, man.
They haven't gotten. There's no strange in this comic.
There's barely any Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh my God. You can't. We're learning about this character. Why can't it just have a normal thing before things get weird?
It can be, but like, there's 4 issues to this. Is the next issue going to be like, and that's when the tree monster showed
exactly.
No, the next issue is going to be like his hair grows out a little longer, and the third issue is going to be like, here's why it was called the Hellfire Club, and then the fourth issue is going to be
tree
he dies
monster.
Being eaten by bats. But, so yeah, we'll get there eventually. Why don't we move on and talk about the Infinity Watch #2 from Marvel, written by Derek Landy, art by Enid Balam and Rory Coleman. Last issue, we had a new character who was a Soulstone bearer, I want to say. Might be Mind Stone.
Mind Stone.
Mind Stone from another multiverse, or at least that's what he said was going on. Came in and killed one of the Infinity Watch. In this issue, he kills absolutely everybody else right up until Star stands up for them, and then we have a big twist about 2/3 of the way through the issue. I was okay with the first issue of this, but I was really intrigued by this one, which goes in some directions I was not expecting at all.
Same. The first issue, I was like, oh, pretty standard situation here. This issue sort of took a million chances and told a story that I was like, yes. The way the first half is just like a Thanos-level slaughter story, I thought was really cool. And then the confidence of writing through the twist in the back half of the comic, I was like, okay, I'm on board with this. Like, we're in a place that I have no idea exactly what the deal is. We're seeing some characters, but we don't know what the connective tissue is necessarily or what's happening. Like, I was really impressed with this as a second issue.
Yeah, I thought this was great. Had some interesting kind of twists and turns. I love Coulson, and it's great to see him, but him as Death is doing things to me that I don't like.
Yeah,
so I'll be happy.
We've covered this a lot. I agree with you, and I was thinking about it when I put this in the stack. I was like, let's just not have... We've covered this discussion, but I think we all agree Coulson as Death, still weird.
But even the villain character here is like, Yeah, hey, I've never met a guy who has a stone like this. Did someone just come up with you? Perhaps as a weird tie-in to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Okay.
All right. See you later. I'm a guy with a beard and a big sword. Batman and Robin, Year 1, number 5 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Chris Samney. In this issue, as you can see from the cover, if you're watching, if you're listening, you cannot see per the cover, but Batman fights Clayface for the first time.
I thought you were going to say that our listeners can't see. I was like, whoa, that's a weird
thing. If you're listening, you can't see.
Close the lids on your mask and let us know if you can see out of them. Pete, you seem pretty psyched about this one, so take it away.
Yeah, this is another just a banger-ish. I love the kind of relationship here we get with Batman and Robin and them trying to figure things out and test boundaries and all that kind of stuff. So I love the reality of that, and because it's a bad idea to, just take a kid out in the streets and have him fight crime with you. It makes me very nervous, especially when he's not as trained up as he should be. But, things start to go wrong with this. But man, I love the kind of setup and all the action. The art's amazing. And we got kind of like Batman versus Clayface, and then Robin gets trapped while all that's all happening at once. So really cool, creative, and tense in all the right ways.
Pete, as someone who was babysitting for his nieces and nephews this past weekend, you didn't go fight crime with any of them?
No, I did not. But I asked them
crime?
to. I asked them to, and they weren't into it.
They were looking at their phones.
Yep, they were.
Nice, gotcha.
Oh, kids, huh?
It's crazy when the power goes out. Kids freak. The phones are super important to them. I was like, "Yo, let's play some board games," and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Come out."
Yeah, come on.
What'd you play, Pete?
Yeah, exactly. What was the board game you brought out when the power went out and you're spooky? And you, I'm sure, cut the power, right?
Yeah.
Try to teach them a lesson.
The old uncle trick. You guys are acting up? Looks like the power is gone.
What was your board game move? Life? Stratego?
No, we went straight for the throat and brought out the Monopoly board.
Oh, wow.
No. Too hard.
Long time.
Dude, we had to kill a lot of time.
And how many of each other did you kill in the process?
Yeah.
Did you finish the Monopoly game?
No. It always ends in rage.
Nobody has actually ever finished a Monopoly game.
Oh, it's happened, but
no.
Yeah.
How bad were you losing, Pete? What's
pretty
your strategy,
bad.
Pete? What properties did you own?
We got a comic book review show to do, but
I could handle this one. Pete bets it all on black. All right, why don't we move on to talk about Mystique, number 5 from Marvel by Declan Shalvey. This is the final issue of this series as Mystique's plan is revealed to Nick Fury Jr. They have a big fight, and there's a big change of status quo for Mystique that's real gross, if you ask me.
Oh, man.
I think I was the one on this podcast that likes this the most. I really like Declan Shalvey's art here. I thought the conclusion was good and action-filled. And I don't know, I hope there's more of this. I like this. I thought there was a good explanation for the thing that you have been asking about all along, Justin, where you're like, how is she using all of these powers? They explained it in this final issue. So there was a nice plan in place here. I thought this was well plotted out and well drawn.
I agree. This issue really came together strong, and it gave the whole thing a sense of purpose. The twinning of Mystique and Nick Fury I thought was really awesome, saying like, hey, they're the same in a lot of ways. And Mystique outsmarts him but pays a price that feels harsh, but at the end she's like, I was willing to pay this. It's a great it holds together as a great spy superhero thriller in a way that I didn't expect, especially because my feelings in the last 2 issues were that they were a little like just sort of flighty superhero action, when this issue really landed the plane from sort of what it started at in the first couple issues. So I thought this was great as a final conclusion for this.
Yeah, I kind of agree that it really stepped up its game in this last issue nicely. Art is creepy in all the right ways. Some really kind of great action and interesting choices. I disagree a little bit with the Zelbatron, that it was awesome all the way through, but it definitely nailed the landing.
Fucked up of Destiny to be like, yeah, that's how my lover does it. And I'm like, she's
Yikes.
so fucked up now.
Yikes.
Say something, lady.
All right. Well, Howl, #2 from Ahoy Comics, written by Elisa Quitney, art by Morissette. We had Elisa on the show a couple of weeks back to talk about this book, so check out that chat. But this is about... you're bummed out we didn't talk to her about this book, right, Pete?
No, I'm bummed out. You keep taking that bit away from me every time I think of it.
No, you can still say it. You can still say it.
Yeah. It's still cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
We'll delete it from the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. This is about a woman who is dating a science fiction writer who gets taken over by an invasion of the body snatchers type deal. It's also based on Elisa's parents, which is interesting knowing that information reading the second issue here. But I really like how this is building. Love Morissette's art. This is fun and satirical. I'm having a good time reading this book.
Yeah.
Same. I feel like this amps up the sci-fi hysteria and mystery at the same time. The art really matches. It's a great, Twilight Zone, classic Vertigo standalone series kind of a thing that I think really pops.
Oh, great. Yeah, I agree with the Vertigo shout out for sure. This is creepy and weird, but also great. And the art really suits it in such a cool way. And there's kind of a gross thing that kind of happens towards the end, which is a blast.
Very fun. You like that, Pete. I feel like that was maybe too scary for you.
Well, I like and I don't want to give this away, but I always thought like Medusa was kind of cool looking. So I thought that this was kind of like along that.
Well, cool looking, you mean like turns you on?
No, you can't look because it'll turn you to stone, but
Yeah,
You
but you
like
can close your eyes and hear the hissing and be like...
Yeah.
You love snake hair, is what you're saying.
Well, I like tiny kisses, so those snakes, we can all
Huge reveal.
Oh, yeah. Do not take Pete to a pet store because he will stick his head in that snake tank.
To call snakes touching your face tiny kisses is a beautiful admission. I love hundreds of tiny snake kisses. Medusa, Pete's sexual icon. Yes.
All right. The Uncanny X-Men #10 from Marvel, written by Gail Simone, art by Andre Bresson. Bunch of things going on in this issue as the kids that the New Orleans X-Men are teaching are trapped inside of a mall by a bunch of Sentinel dogs. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler is doing some other stuff, and Rogue and Gambit are on a date. I'll directly contrast this with Exceptional X-Men, which again, I know I'm like on the high end there.
Here we go.
Yes,
But that is showing a level of focus in the storytelling that at this point, despite me really wanting to like this book, and I still like moments from it, is not. There is so much going on at any point. What really struck me in this issue is it feels like the entire Claremont era, all 45 titles he was writing, all jammed into one comic book.
I agree with you. I feel like the first few issues of this were so focused on a core team, their emotionality, and their relationship between each other. And now it's like chaos happening here. And the Nightcrawler bit at the top, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, it's not what this is about? Okay. The young mutants coming together and fighting. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's... I guess that's sort of what it is about. But it's also about. Jubilee died. All this bad stuff's happening. Is she okay? Malls are bad. It just feels a little like there was such a tight focus before. And I miss the really sweet, emotional, sentimental issues at the top as we get into this more chaotic situation. And, Rogue and Gambit on a date at the end, I was like, oh, I just want to see them on a date and have them have an adventure. Instead, I feel like, hey guys, you're supposed to be paying attention to all those kids over there, like Pete's Monopoly.
Also, there's so much going on that when they got to them at the end, I was like, oh right, wait, did they leave? When did they leave? What's happening here?
Yeah,
there's just too much.
I wanted to kind of touch on something that Alex brought up. There was some fun moments here. I laughed out loud when at one point in the issue, this guy goes, hey, to Wolverine, hey, don't call me kid. And he goes, you got it, bub. I laughed out loud. I thought that was a hysterical moment.
Interesting.
But yeah,
I don't
also
know that was a laugh line, but all right.
I thought it's like he calls people bub anyway, and he called the guy kid, which is not normally. But I thought that was funny. You were like, now you're back to bub. You can't. But I don't know. Also, I thought there was a fun cover.
He loves Wolverine, no doubt about it.
I love all the action, and it always makes me happy to see people working together. So really appreciated the teamwork that took to kind of take down the dogs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this.
Hey, one thing you talked about earlier, Pete. Now it makes a lot of sense when I've heard the rumors going around that you're. People are like, "Who's Pete dating?" I'm like, "He's dating like 10 snakes." He's dating like a bundle. What's it called when there's a bunch of snakes you find in a ball?
I know it's a murder of crows, but I don't know what it is for the snakes.
It's like a rat king is another one. It's like a.
And now, remind me if I'm wrong about this, but I believe you got arrested for masturbating at a showing of Snakes on a Plane. Is that accurate, Pete?
That is not accurate. That was a rumor.
Yeah, you were trying to time it out to when Sam Jackson says, "I've had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane," but it had already happened like an hour and a half before.
No, this is.
Should I keep going?
No, please. Let's talk about the next comic.
Okay.
I guess it's a knot of snakes. Like when you fuck 9 snakes, it's called
a knot or a nod?
A knot.
Oh, okay.
It's like a sort of like like a handkerchief of snakes.
Okay. Well, I just want to mention that the wedding site is also called the Knot, so technically that may refer to a ball of snakes.
I'm sure the people listening would like us to move on.
I don't think they would, but we will anyway. The Holy Roller, number 9 from Image Comics, written by Andy Samberg, Rick Remender, and Joe Troman, art by Roland Bosky. I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot that this title hadn't finished coming out, but It is. I don't know when it last came out, but it is about a guy with incredible bowling ball powers who is fighting a bunch of neo-Nazis on the roof, and we get some closure on that situation here. What'd you guys think about the finale of this series?
Well, I like the fact that it really felt like Sandberg's voice to me when I was reading it. It's a funny, silly, over the top. The D's nuts line was a bit much, but fun.
Wow.
While he's
coming from the man who liked the Kid Bub reference earlier.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it just missed me or something. But I did think it was funny when he's monologuing and then the pudding guy, took care of business there. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, it's just, when you see like a famous person writing something, you want to kind of hear their voice. And I feel like they did a great job of channeling the Berg here. And so, yeah, I thought it was good.
I mean, I think they definitely, like, Andy Samberg's voice definitely comes through here. It's wild to me that this comic about a bowling superhero got to a I guess, app that then controlled people's minds and made them hate, take their hate out on other people around them. So that was pretty wild, but it's a fun story. The characters are well laid out. It's hard to get past the idea that this was a movie pitch that they just turned into a comic a little bit, but it's a fun read across the board. And let me just follow up real quick. A knot of snakes is called a mating ball, and that's when, and I'm reading this from the internet, one female snake and many male suitors, including Pete LePage, surround the female because she put a pheromone out into the environment. So,
where do the sweet little kisses come in? Is that before it all goes down?
I think it's after, actually.
Okay. When you're cuddling.
It's very sweet. Cuddling. Post snake.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man #3.
Well, going from movie projects to TV projects, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man #3 for Marvel, written by Christos Gage, art by Eric Gapster. I thought it would be interesting to check out this one because we were pretty confused with the first 2 issues, having not seen the show. Now we have seen the show, and this issue is coming out. Most of the show. How do you feel about it now? Does it feel like this makes more sense in context?
No, it's more stressful because I feel like the show is getting in the way. Spoilers, but in this issue, they're playing football, and I'm like, oh, poor Lonnie. I just don't know what he's going to do, and I can't watch football because all I can think about Lonnie and what he threw away to join a fucking gang.
Pete, lost in the sauce as you.
But the art is great, and it really feels like the comic come to life, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like this stands alone from the series, operating on different tracks, really. And this is filling in a gap in between. This whole series takes place, I guess, during the first episode of the series. I would say, it's him post Spider Bite, but figuring out how he wants to be a hero. And that's interesting, but the vibe of this is very much like Archie comics, I feel like. It's like him, he's sort of trying to play football at a point and failing. It's him in high school. It's a fun, light read that can work as alongside the cartoon series, if you're a fan of that.
Challengers of the Unknown, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Christopher Cantwell, art by Sean Isaacs and Aman K. Nahulpan. In this issue, we are getting one of the members of the Challengers teaming up with the Atoms and a turning point, I guess, in the continued, war with the Justice League sounds too wrong, but Mr. Terrific is certainly targeting the Challengers because of their potential connection to Darkseid, and that starts to come to a head in this issue.
Yeah, I think... Oh, go ahead.
No, you can.
I thought that was cool. Love the action, fun twists and turns. It's the age-old question, your future self shows up. Do you listen? I like this. I'm looking forward to what's coming forward.
I think this is great. I've been wanting to shout out DC a lot lately because of the way that they are taking their event and allowing it to be a series of mini events feeding into the main story without having it be a huge numbered thing and a whole... I feel like the Marvel Universe has been very much hey, we're on the manhunt, and it's read all these other issues, and it feels so deliberate. This feels like the story gets to sneak up on us because in this issue, the Challengers of the Unknown are touching on so much of the Darkseid stuff in a way that feels dangerous and exciting without it feeling so pointed to. And the art in this is great. I love the way that the Challengers have been sidelined by the Justice League, but at the same time, we're rooting for them. And it just feels like the DC Universe is really smartly being granular with a lot of the individual comics they're doing. And this one is a great example of that.
I just wanted to point out, you don't have to shit on the Blood Hunt to point out that something is good. You know what I mean? You can just talk about how great it is. All right. The Blood Hunt was a lot of fun. And I know you said Manhunt. And, I was reading between the lines there, but, you don't have to.
This is clearly your issue, but I will say I'm being paid by several billionaires to be shitting on Blood Hunt. They're really anti-Blood Hunt. I don't know what it is, but it's sort of like a paid sponsorship where I'm fuck the Blood Hunt.
All day.
So you can be bought, is what you're saying.
Me too. Me too. Billionaires are paying for me too. All day I'm on Twitter, which I like to call X, just responding to people being Blood Hunt, more like Shit Hunt. And it's usually unrelated posts, but I'm getting paid not a lot of money.
Oh, wow.
Alien, as I like to call it.
Yes, that's how you say that. Handkerchief.
Alien Paradiso number 3 from Marvel, written by Steve Fox, art by Edgar Salazar and Jason Muir. We are following the Xenomorphs are attacking other planetary resort, and the folks who are stuck in the middle of that, following a bunch of folks who work there that have been tasked with capturing the alien who they think is still super tiny. It is not. And meanwhile, there's some undercover cops who are tangling with some crooks, and will they be able to work together to take down the Xenomorph? I'm going to say probably not.
It's a shame that this and Alien Avengers come out the same week. They should just alternate it because the vibe is so different. And I like the vibe of both of these books, but I prefer Alien Avengers. Feels like a step in a direction. Alien Paradiso feels like a sort of made-for-TV movie for aliens, which is cool. I like that tone.
Yeah.
But that's what we're getting here. Like, everyone's like, no, I want to do this. You should come with me. And I don't know. I'm a cop. I'm not a cop. Like, everyone's sort of having their position shouted a lot.
I agree. It feels like it's a solid alien book that feels like, an alien comic. I kind of have an understanding of what this is going to be, and it delivers on that. But when you're kind of bringing it out at the same time where they're like taking big swings artistically, it's so different looking and all that kind of stuff. So this feels like what you're going to get. And then that is just like a couple steps above it as far as like what you're just kind of mind blown by what you're actually getting.
I would like to compliment the alien vision pages we get in this are really cool. Like, we get sort of the POV of
it's like a predator vision type of thing.
Yes. And surprisingly similar to the Predators, but I guess that's why when aliens and predators fought each other, it was such a standoff.
Yeah, really
they see eye to eye, so to speak.
Yeah.
In Bloom, number 3 from Boom Studios, written by Michael W. Conrad, art by John J. Pearson. This takes place in a world where people have begun to bloom, aka turn into plant hybrids, thanks to the not mitochondria. I'm forgetting what it's called, but basically like
Mayo.
Something. I don't remember. Whatever it is, the little plant babies in their guts turn them into plants. That's how it works. That's science. And there's one cop who can't do that and is trying to investigate what's really going on. Continues to be a gross, very involving series. I'm really liking this a lot.
Boom, boom. Welcome to the Bloom Room. We are talking in Bloom right now. I like the backstory we get in this. I also like this comic. This is one that really gets me thinking, and it's a very expansive horror idea, and it does a good job just visually. We saw, I think, last issue, our main cop's wife's face bloom open in like 5 strips, scared Pete. Pete no likey, Justin likey, and in this we get a gesture toward it in a way that I was like, oh, this is like a full series idea. There's a maximum brain happening as we're going through this series.
Mycelial? Is that what it is?
Yes, that's that's what you're talking about.
Cool, you guys are smart. I agree with what Justin was saying. Me no likey as far as I am scared, and Justin, just you recapping that, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit. So yeah,
throw up out of your mouth when you have the chance.
It's too scary, man. I just I'd like to, but I can't.
Nice. The Power Fantasy, number 6 from Image Comics, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Casper Wingard. We are back in the world of the Power Fantasy, where there are a bunch of superpowers, incredibly superpowered people who can never fight, or it will mean the end of the world, and the different machinations they're going through. In this issue, we get a big revelation that one of the characters has a son who may also be a superpower on the same level, leading to a big change in status quo. Continues to be a really great book, and I feel like after a little bit of a break, they came back so strong with this issue. We were having a bit of discussion on the Comic Book Club Discord about this book, and maybe a little bit of difficulty getting into it and holding on with the characters. I don't know if it was the time away or something, but everything seems more precise and cleaner and easy to understand now that we have these different factions that are setting up throughout. So maybe my favorite issue of this so far.
Well, I agree with you. It definitely, now that everything's on the table, like it's starting to lock in with how they're all pointed at each other, like a series of nuclear warheads. I do think 2 things contributed to this being great. Everything feeling like it's out there and it is given equal play here dramatically. But also there's a page right after the title page where we get sort of all the superpowers, and we get their sort of like Marvel back of the Marvel trading card like power set, and that's, I think, just a great way in on it. Especially this is about the power fantasy, it's about superpowers. To get that laid out is it puts you in the right mindset, even if you're not doing the math on how they would all kill each other.
I also I just wanted to throw out there how perfectly paced this book is. This is a bit of a spoiler here, but Etienne, who's sort of the evil Professor X type, not evil, but like Professor X type character, he has mind powers, and there's always stuff going on with him. In the book, while he's talking to everybody else with his mind, he's wandering just sort of like through this outback town. Yeah. And the book, at least for me, while I was reading, is perfectly paced out where you hit a point where you're like, oh, he's wandering through an outback town. Wait a second, what is he doing in an outback town? And at that point, one of the characters is like, hold up, what are you doing? Where are you? And I don't know, to me, that is the ideal of a perfect story if the writing is on the same pace with the questions that the reader is. So I was very impressed with that.
This, how many more nice things can we say about it? It's great. It's artistically impressive on an impressive level as far as things coming together in such a cool way and giving us great information to kind of enjoy all the stuff that's happening. I agree with the JT says. I love like maps and details. Give me the stuff that's in like the comic Bible that the creators made. So yeah, having the power rankings and what their kind of stuff is just fantastic.
Let's move on to a little bit of a mathematical lesson with Nightwing 123 from DC Comics, written by Dan Waters, art by Dexter Soy. In this issue, Dick Grayson is continuing to try to calm down the gangs of Bloodhaven as they're being amped up by secret dark forces in the background. Focusing specifically on the Fly Boys here, who are giant mutated
Fly Boys.
Fly Boys.
See what they did there?
Mm-hmm. And this is, I believe, the men who danced on In Living Color, if I remember correctly. So big changes going on for them.
Wow.
You don't see a ton of them in the actual
show. Dude. They
focused a lot on the Fly Girls.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh
Fly Boys got a lot. We're often cut for time, I think.
J-Lo, they were where she got her start.
Yeah, we all know. We all know.
Okay.
Jesus H.
I appreciate you saying it.
Wow.
This run is doing a great job of being different from the previous run.
Get him.
Previous run, shouts, excellent. This much darker story, Nightwing getting into more supernatural situations. And I think this comic is still trying to find its legs a little bit, find its tone. We get a moment in this issue where he's fighting a giant flyboy, and he says, holy hydrochloric halitosis. So he's doing some old school stuff. Nightwing, you know?
Okay. I mean, and maybe it's not the best line, but first off, I was with you, JT says, and then you start reeling back a little bit. I think this continues to be amazing. I feel like Nightwing is such a staple for DC that always delivers and never lets you down. And I just feel like they really put a lot of energy into making Nightwing such a great comic, and I'm here for it. I thought the action is fun, and sometimes they go on silly adventures a little bit that is fun. So I think fighting
I wouldn't
flies.
call this a silly adventure.
Well, when you got a team of gang members called the Fly Boys who turn into flies, for me that turns silly. So I was having some silly fun with this, and your dog agrees with me. So what now?
No, that means he's mad at you.
So Pete, you would say you would give this 2 snaps up, right? Is what you're
in a circle, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
2 snaps up in a circle.
Great. All right, why don't we move on and talk about Laura Kitty Wolverine, number 3 from Marvel, written by Erica Schultz, art by Giada Belviso. In this issue, Wolverine is teaming up with Elektra Daredevil, one of Erica Schultz's other babies, as we already talked about here in the stack, and they are trying to help out some mutants who are being attacked by people prejudiced against mutants.
This is just badass and great on so many levels. Such a fun team up to see them kind of work so well together. This is great. I love the action. I love I'm just having such a blast with this. Just such a blast. This is great. 2 great characters working well together. More of this, please.
I'm about to hoist myself on my own petard here because I was making fun of Pete earlier for in the Stranger Things book because he was like, I just want to see these guys hang out.
Right.
I was like, no, that's not comics. I want to see stuff happen. This comic, I want to see Laura Kinney and Daredevil hang out. they're doing stuff where I'm like, I've seen you guys do all this stuff before. It's sort of like regular action for crime fighters like these guys. There's a cool exchange with a cool battle with a dead man switch here, a guy who's about to, which I thought was well done. But what I love about the old Laura Kinney Wolverine book was like really getting into her life and what was going on, and I want that here. And so I'm a little bit, I like where we leave this issue and moving into the character that we're going to spend the next issue with. That's fun. I just hope we get some more character stuff rather than just like a regular superhero.
But it leaves you wanting more. I mean, that's, to me, it seems like they're doing a great job.
Well, interesting that you mentioned that with Laura Kinney and character stuff, because maybe we'll get to a book with that later on in the stack. But next up is Behemoth, #2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Grant Sputore and Ryan Engel, art by Jay Martin. This is about a bunch of people who are in a bus that gets swallowed by a Godzilla-style kaiju, and now they have to figure out what's going on and survive, and things go from bad to worse. We were talking about how Holy Roller is a movie pitch. This is also very much a movie pitch in comic book form, but I'm kind of loving the movie.
I do love this. I'm enjoying this, and I like the surprising stuff that happens. Everything feels pretty bleak, and especially, like, let's be honest, they're going out the butthole, right?
100%.
Dude, come
on. Where else are they going to go out?
The way it's talked about in this, they're like, what do we do? And someone tells them, like, follow the path. I'm like, that path is to the butthole, guys.
You are just...
We all know that.
Do you know what this is? This is basically like Inside Out Cloverfield, because it's almost exactly like Cloverfield, but instead of them running through, they're inside the monster instead of outside, and it's great. It works.
And I do enjoy it.
I thought you meant Inside Out, the cartoon movie, not...
It's
I am feeling joy
and sadness trying to find their way out of a kaiju's butthole.
I love it.
That was the original plot, and then Pixar had to redo the whole movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was your emotions trying to escape from your body through your butt.
Yeah, the one note was like, I don't know that we can show Riley's butthole in this movie. And they were like, all right, I guess we have to rework the whole thing.
We had a whole set piece about that. All right.
Yeah,
I guess Bing Bong's not going out the butthole.
Guess we'll kill him instead.
I mean, good choice.
Yeah, Bing Bong was actually the only one that survived until the end of the movie.
I will say Bing Bong out the butthole is a fun phrase.
That's where it started. That's where the idea started. The movie was originally called Bing Bong Out the Butthole. And then it ended up as Inside Out.
Just to get back to the comic real quick, I didn't have a problem with the exit, but I thought this was fun and the art was impressive.
Yeah. Great. Thank you for
keeping us honest. Pete.
Killing it. Just killing it.
Who knew the man who fucks snakes is the one to keep us on track?
Well, snakes are straightforward. They're like a line. Chilling Adventure presents The 9 Lives of Salem, #1 from Archie Comics, written by Cullen Bunn, art by Dan Schoening and Ben Galvin. In this issue, we're finding out the origins of Salem the cat, and turns out he is a dark sorcerer who enslaved a bunch of demons, and they want revenge in this issue. Pete, I think you were pretty excited about this one, so take it away.
Yeah, speaking of great cats,
rank that cat.
Dude, we're not quite there. We got a couple more titles before you rank the top 5
Stay
cats.
tuned till the end of the podcast when I reveal my top 5 cats. Yeah, I mean,
Can you imagine somebody being like, well, I'm an hour and 37 minutes into it. I'm out now. I'm out.
But yeah, I'm a sucker for a fun cat, so Salem is definitely in that wheelhouse. So yeah, this was artistically a lot of fun, and why not focus on Salem? You know what I mean?
Yes, a question I ask myself a lot of the time. This was fun. I like how absolutely merciless this bastard cat is.
Cats are cutthroat, bro.
Yeah, this is pretty hardcore. I like the Archie horror stuff in general, but this one goes very dark and very bloody. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe they've told some variation on this story before, but I never really thought about the fact that, like, oh yes, he is a sorcerer who is, cursed to become a cat.
I didn't know that, I guess, that he was a human.
Yeah, I think they mentioned that before, but
that's why he talks. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, but I thought this was great. It was a good story.
Pete, you want to be a cat?
No, I don't want to be a cat. I just think cats are cool.
Okay.
Methinks the catty does protest too much.
Yeah.
The Question, All Along the Watchtower, number 4 from DC Comics, written by Alex Segura, art by Cian Torme and Raul Fernandez. The villain of this series was revealed to be the cyborg Superman, who is trying to attack and destroy the Justice League Watchtower satellite, and the only thing that stands in his way is the Question. Again, I'm surprised what a big action series this is. Not saying that as a negative, but I really expected more of a mystery, and granted there are, like, here's how it all fits together type things, but it's mostly like, here's how it fits together while we die hard our way through the Watchtower and punch a bunch of stuff.
Too bad we didn't talk to the writer about this book. You know what I mean?
We did. We had him on our live show, Pete.
Oh.
So we talked to him about this book.
Nice. Land of the Plane. 2 things on this issue, because I agree. I like this a lot. We encounter Animal Man at one point in here.
You sure do.
And he's just got animals, like, on tap. Is he feeding all these animals? He's got animals in space? Mm-hmm. And is he like, he's got like a horse, a tiger, what looks like a giant dog,
the money
corgi?
to feed
he's
those.
Got a big corgi here?
You got money to burn.
They've got to have like a replicator like in Star Trek, right? On that Watchtower?
I don't think we've really seen
horses eat a lot, man. You gotta, they're big animals.
There's no food.
The one downside of the Justice League Watchtower is no food.
Yeah, they're like, should we Uber Eats? Like, who's
Superman's
available?
like, no, it's too shiny. I don't want to get it dirty. No food in the Watchtower. Eat before you get here.
The Question is one of my favorite DC characters, so super happy with the kind of twists and turns that Alex is taking in this, and this is fun.
Agree, it's a good mystery, well told. The other question I had was like, do you think Cyborg, Superman, and Eradicator are like, hey, remember we were?
we pretended. Everybody thought we were.
I wanted a little bit more of a like, bro, remember us? We were friends with Superboy.
Yeah,
so your question for the Question is like, do you guys, when you pass each other in the hall, go like, hey, remember?
Well, they're teaming up to destroy the Justice League here. I feel like they'd have a little high five about how like they were both pretending to be Superman for a while.
I do appreciate how Alex Segura is bringing like all your faves in this series, where it's very much like you were saying, Animal Man and the Bulleteer shows up here, and it's Question and Batwoman and all of these characters that like are just not going to show up anywhere else. Taking them and throwing them together is very fun.
Alex Segura is meticulous, and 7 Soldiers of Victory, I want to say, Bulleteer.
Wow.
Alex Segura is meticulous, and it shows in this book.
Miles Morales, Spider-Man, number 30 from Marvel, written by Cody Ziegler, art by Luigi Zagaria. This is the second part of the Pools of Blood crossover between the two Deadpools and, well, the two Miles Moraleses, including Shift, who is the large cloned Miles Morales. Lots going on here. Again, we haven't checked out this title in a while, but because we checked out the first part of the crossover, thought it was worth checking out the second as well. What did you guys think of this?
I mean, my big takeaway is what is happening in the Miles Morales continuity. He's got his Venom sword, cool.
Right.
He's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not a vampire anymore. And he's
right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, boop, hey, it's me, Anansi. I'm here. I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
It's crazy to me that there are two Deadpools, and that is so much less complicated than whatever is going on with Miles.
100%. And this title, or this issue, I'm like, this is a sort of a mess. It recaps so much of what we read in the first issue of this crossover. I was like, we already know all this. Mm-hmm. And all of the other stuff, I just feel like it's a little much. I want to pare down Miles Morales a ton back to some regular stuff.
Yeah. I don't I wanted to talk about that overlapping crossover thing a little bit because they did that in the Raid on Greymalkin crossover as well. Yeah. And I don't know if that's some new storytelling technique that everybody's enamored of or if it's an editorial edict to make sure if you're not reading Deadpool, you can still read Miles Morales or something. Like, that's where it comes from.
I mean, that's what it is, I would assume.
But it's weird with a short-term 4-issue crossover to have every issue be like, yeah, just in case you're not reading it, here you go. That's not a crossover. Like,
well, to your point, I don't mind because we get Miles's POV a little bit here coming into the same stuff, but then we get to see scenes twice, and I was like, I'm down with a little POV from our main character in each of the separate titles, but this doubles up in a way that I think, like you're saying, is a little too editorial.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree. I do like, because, books used to give you a little recap before you kind of started reading and stuff like that. So I like the idea of trying to include people in stuff that may have missed, but I agree
there
they got a little...
also is a recap.
Yeah. So never mind.
I hear you, but...
I mean, I like the idea of trying to include people so it's not so dense you can't. But if you're going to do...
If you're already going to put actually, I don't know if it's on the cover, but if you're going to make it like part 2 of 4 or whatever, just make it part 2 of 4. It's like if you're reading a book and the second chapter is half the first chapter and that keeps going like that. That's
insane.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
But just real quick, let me just read. All I've done for you and you forget the great Kwaku Anansi? I was like...
and he has vibranium armor now, and he has a venom sword, plus he has all of his Miles Morales stuff. Too many things.
Plus, it said blood on the cover, and I was like, we talking about the blood hunt? No.
We're not.
No.
We're not anymore. But they do mention it, because they talk about the vampire god. Who is taking over Black Panther. So lots of stuff going on here. Why don't we move on and talk about From the World of Minor Threats, The Brood at number 3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Heath Corson, Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom, art by I.N.J. Colbert. This is following the story of 3 kids of one of the greatest, smartest supervillains in the world of Minor Threats. Their father is dying, and each issue we've been focusing in on one of them. This issue, we're focusing on the one that doesn't want anything to do with his father, wants his own life. He is a cop, but he is actually probably the closest to being a potential heir apparent because he has the same sort of smarts as his father. This is so good.
Yes.
This issue in particular was my favorite so far. The family dynamics, everything that's going on that they're diving in here. Really love the first 2 issues. But this one, the sense of frustration and tension that's coming between the son and the father here is expertly done.
Yeah, it's really like, I feel like it was a real wide angle for the first 2, and this narrows it in so tightly, and we get to see the son and his relationships and his relationship to his family and father come through so crystal clear, down to a fight that happens that is really well done, and the son sort of outsmarting his father while his father's trying to outsmart his son. It's just really good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that whole father-son thing, it's the older I get, the more kind of different it feels a little bit. But I do think it's an interesting choice and a cool dynamic and well played out here for sure. And yeah,
you're trying to take down your dad's criminal empire.
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, the more I realized when my dad asked me to do something, I said, fuck off, I want to live my own life. That really wasn't that nice. I could have been a little cooler about that. But I do think that Minor Threats is awesome, and they're doing such a great job of kind of like extending ideas, making it feel great, and still feel kind of like under the same umbrella and badass and cool. So I think they're doing a great job.
Next up, World Tree, number 13 from Image Comics, written by James Tynion IV, art by Fernando Blanco. This is continuing the backstory of if you needed to know how a lady takes off her clothes, this is the easiest way to do it.
I mean, that's a slightly glib breakdown of what's happening in this comic, because this is like my other favorite read of the week. Like, I feel like this comic is just under the radar.
Wait, so you've got favorite of the week and then another favorite of the week?
Second favorite.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is Justin's under the radar take.
Yeah, we'll add some my theme song in there. That's it.
Wow.
I had Alex record it.
Wow.
But the
Could
way
you
that
tell?
this comic has created a lot of we're 13 issues in. It's created a lot of sort of how the sort of Steve Jobs version of the backstory of how these people came together to find the undernet and the evil underneath the internet. And then this arc getting into sort of where the killer that emerges out of the undernet, how she became who she is, I think really thematically is telling us what this comic is about. It's about how the internet and just society, you start on the path toward evil in a small way and an accidental way. And that's what we've seen here. And we're following this horrifying journey of this character and what happens to her and what then she does, how people try to help her but cannot. The art is fantastic, and I really like the underlying themes that.
Yeah, you can't read this in public. But just a heads up.
Depends on who's around you. If you're around people who like nudity.
I was being glib, but I really did think this issue was fantastic. And this whole backstory is fantastic. What it's doing so smartly, because we're finally getting to see inside of the undernet, is we're getting to understand why it is so attractive to people, particularly this character Fear, who is the woman who has been walking around naked, slaughtering people the entire time. And you also get a sense, which I know it is incorrect, but you get a sense while you're seeing her, actually this is freeing to just let it all go and move past.
Yeah.
And yes, of course it is bad, but you understand the perspective she's coming from, which is the whole point of these sorts of stories. And like you said, just Fernando Blanco's art is just next level throughout.
And I just wanted to point out, I appreciate what you did there by saying undernet and then understand.
Thank you. I often underappreciate what you're saying, but thank you, Pete. Last but not least, NYX, number 8 from Marvel, written by Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly, art by Francesco Mortarino, and this is the title that I've been teasing all podcast long.
Yeah, you have.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
you have.
I got you guys.
Oh, man. Can't wait to hear your review now.
Pretty good. No, I actually really, really like this issue. And the reason I like this issue is it focuses in on Laura Kinney, Wolverine, confronting Emplate. That's the name of the character, right? Who is...
Julian.
Hellion, yes. I always mix him and Empath up just because they were
Empath is part of this, I believe, as well.
Yes.
But Julian's the one that she...
But essentially, most of the issue, except for some flashbacks here and there, is her confronting him in a prisoner transport and trying to give him an opportunity to confess to the murder of 6 girls who are missing. And as soon as that started and they had this strong character-driven scene at the beginning, I was like, God, I wish they would do this for the whole issue. And I know they're not going to hold on because it's going to go in other directions by the end. And then they actually did keep it inside that truck the entire time and let it go through these different iterations. I thought it was a fantastic, just self-contained, although obviously turned into the larger plot, but self-contained character exploration of the relationship between these two characters, which is what you were asking for before from Laura Kinney. And I thought this brought this to bear in a fantastic way.
Agree. This was my other favorite book.
Wait a second. Jesus H.
Sorry. No, I did really enjoy this as well.
Is this your third favorite, or tied for second, or tied for first? Where are you putting this?
They're all my favorites. I can't rank things the way you rank cats, Pete.
I'm not ranking.
And it's coming. Hang in there. Don't tune out. Yeah. Don't tune out in an hour 50.
Stay close for the next 70 seconds.
You guys are going to hate this list.
We're going to hate the list? I don't even know 5 cats. Get the fuck out
of
here.
What the fuck are you talking about?
If you mention even a singular cat, I'm going to be thrilled.
Yeah, exactly. If you can name anyone. I really enjoyed this issue for the reasons you're saying, Alex. And I think this comic is the X-Men comic that is really just able to to touch all of the established character continuity that I love and use it for the stories that they're telling now. So I'm hanging on every word in this series. Can't wait for more.
Yeah, just to echo what you guys were saying, first, just a badass cover. It got me very excited for what's inside and really delivered on such a great way. Impressive. And it was nice to kind of spend that time and in the transport vehicle. So badass.
And there you go. That is it for the stack. If you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about comic books, Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice. To subscribe, listen, and follow the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, here are Pete's top 5 cats.
Okay, first, number 5, okay? And I am going to get honorable mentions when I'm done with my 5 here, but Gigi from Kiki's Delivery Service, number 5, coming in at number 5.
When did you
number 4? No, when you first said it. And number 4, Hobbs from Calvin and Hobbes. Come on, gotta keep it real. Number 3, Heathcliff, obviously. Number 2, Pink Panther, and of course, number 1. Come on. Felix the Cat, baby. Honorable mention to Duck from Constantine. Honorable mention from Jonesy from Alien.
Wow. The Garfield erasure is shocking.
And also, you didn't mention any of the cats in this stack.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't.
So now
which was the whole idea. So top 5 cats for the stack.
Garfield, to me, when I was a kid, was just fantastic. But when I got older, I was more Odie than Garfield. So, I just got to keep it real.
Hate
on
Garfield.
That.
Okay, top 5 Medusa snakeheads that you kiss.
Well, we don't have enough time for that kind of stuff.